Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It is a chilly Sunday morning and I am enjoying some coffee and doing some reading, and life is good. Life is relaxing right now. It's been insanely busy for me at school and just life in general. I've not been making a lot of videos, but I'm hoping to make some more videos this week. I have the week off for Thanksgiving break, which is very much needed right now because I have been super busy. And this weather has just been crazy. Fall is my favorite time of year normally. I love the cooler temperatures and the leaves changing and falling, and here in Colorado where I live, it has been like super high record temperatures, 70s, even 80s. This was like less than a week ago. It was 80 degrees. And then the very next day it snowed. It dropped down to like a low of 17 degrees. We got a couple inches, nothing crazy, but normally Colorado weather can kind of go back and forth. You know, you can have a cold, snowy day, and then the next day it'll be 50 and sunny and the snow will melt. You know, 2 days later it'll be in the 60s and people will be wearing shorts, which I don't, because that's way too cold for me. But this, I mean, it's the middle of November, and to go from 80 degrees to in the teens and snow is just, besides being crazy busy, it's just killed my sinuses and just made me tired and just done with this week. But I'm so glad this past week is over. I'm going to do some reading. I'm going to make some booktube videos. And so with that in mind, let's kind of get started. Put the coffee down. Oh, I got this at King Soopers. Isn't this an adorable fall cup? It's really tall. I like it. If you don't know what King Soopers or Kroger is, it's just a grocery store that we have. I don't know if it's just the Midwest or the West, or I know they're not everywhere. But anyway, I thought I would kind of catch you up and do a video on what I've been reading, what I plan on reading, and just kind of go from there. I'll try to make some more videos during the week. I mean, I will have Thanksgiving and family coming up, but definitely want to get a few videos out there. I also plan on doing a monthly wrap-up, so I'm not going to go into great detail about these books. The first book I read a lot yesterday. I felt like doing absolutely nothing. I sat around in my pajamas most of the day and drank coffee and just read. And I finally finished Unholy Magic by Sasha Cain. If you've watched previous videos, you know I started reading this back in October and love this book. I was really enjoying it. That's not the reason that I took forever to finish it. I just had so much else going on that I kept putting it down, and I probably could have finished it, but I was just very stressed out as well, and it was hard for me to really get into reading. But I finished the last like 100 pages I had of this book, maybe a little less, yesterday. Absolutely loved it. This is the second book in a series. I really liked the first book. I gave it 3.5 stars, I believe. I think it was a good introduction into the series and into this world. But this one I liked a lot more. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I probably have to sit and think another couple days on it to give my final rating. But I really enjoyed this. I love urban fantasy, and this is still different than most of the urban fantasy I read. It's very dark, very gritty. There is a lot of violence and sex and not the nicest characters in this book, but you're definitely very intrigued. All the characters, even the more minor characters, are very fleshed out. though they could be cartoonish and one-dimensional, and they are not. They are each one. It's like you can visualize them from the way they dress to the slang they use to the little nuances and facial expressions. I mean, Stasha Kane, she knows how to write interesting characters. I love this world. I really enjoyed the story. And I will go more into detail on my wrap-up video. If you were looking for urban fantasy, anything dark, a little creepy, not scary, but a little creepy, it's a good series to read. And then recently, I also started a new book, which I don't have on me because it's an ebook. It's a newer series that I'd heard a lot about, but I kept thinking, well, maybe I'll read it, maybe I'll get it sometime. And then I was watching another booktuber. Her name is Ali Sugar. I'll link her channel down below. She's great. She convinced me to pick this up. She compared the first book to Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. And I was kind of intrigued before, but when I heard that, I was like, all right, I've got to start reading these books. I adore Neil Gaiman. Neverwhere was the first book of his that I ever read, and that just sold me. It's A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I've never read anything of hers. I've heard of her. I've heard nothing but good things, but I tend not to get newer books, you know, what's popular in the moment that everybody's talking about, because a lot of times I get disappointed by that. And if I get too sucked in, then I start thinking about all these other new books, new authors, and it's overwhelming and it's too much. So I tend to not focus a lot on those books. But I decided I wanted to try this out. I looked for it in my library and found the second book in the series, which I can't remember what that is called right now. Probably come to me later. And I picked it up, brought it home thinking it was the first book. Come to find out, it's the second book. The library does not have the first book, which I love libraries. I love my local library. I have 3 branches, so we tend to have a lot of good selection of books. And I will never understand why they would have a second book in a series and not the first book. That irritates me to no end. I could maybe understand if it's an older book, older series, you know, maybe they had it at one point and then decided to get rid of it because people weren't taking it out. These are newer books, and these are very popular books. Why would they not have the first one? So I end up looking other places. I really didn't want to buy it. I knew I wouldn't be able to find it probably secondhand, real cheap. So I have several apps that I've talked about before, and one of them is Overdrive, which actually goes through your local library. You put in your library card. You can borrow ebooks, audiobooks. It's a great app. And they actually did have it on there, so I picked it up. And I was going to put it off and wait until my break because I was already reading Unholy Magic. But I decided one night, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to read a couple pages and if it's not pulling me in, I'll just kind of forget about it and not read it, and no harm, no foul. So I started reading it and I got sucked in. I had other things to do that night and I wasn't going to stay up too late, and I ended up reading about 90 pages of this book. Fantasy is probably my favorite genre, but it can be very difficult. That's why when I find authors that I like, I tend to stick with them more than picking up new authors. I'm very hesitant to pick up new authors because it's very difficult to get into a fantasy book. You know, it's a new world. They could have magic. They could have other creatures. They might have common mythological creatures. They might have their own creatures. So you have no idea what you're getting into. You can be very confused. And authors tend to go one of two ways. They either slowly give you information as you're reading, and then you can start learning about how this world works, who the characters are, any magical systems or creatures, or they give you big info dumps, which I absolutely hate that, because it could just be pages and pages of, it's almost like reading an owner's manual or like a really dry, boring history book. Well, this is what happened and this is why things are the way they are, and just that's so boring. It's so boring for me, and I will drop a book if I'm reading that. But the other way can be very confusing and slow and tedious, and it might leave you frustrated, and then you end up dropping the book because you have no idea what's going on and you don't care. Victoria Schwab knows how to do it. That's all I'm going to say. She leaves you little tidbits as you're reading. So yeah, you start out not knowing what's going on, but she gives you enough information to really leave you intrigued and turning those pages and wanting to find out what's going to happen next. And, you know, I really want to understand this more, and I want to get to know these characters, and I am absolutely loving the book so much that I want to go out and buy it, and probably buy the second one. My birthday is coming up soon, and I tend to get gift cards, and a lot of times Barnes & Noble gift cards, because my friends and family know me. They know that the thing that I usually always want is books. But most people don't know what I've read, what I am reading, because I just read so much that they tend to give me gift cards and I just go crazy. So if I can kind of hold off, I'm going to stop reading the book for a little while, and I'm hoping to buy them because I want to own these books. I want to have them in my hands. I want to put them on my shelves. I have a feeling I'm going to want to reread these. These are the type of books that I'll probably catch something new every time I read them. And so that really gets me excited, and I want these books. So I'm trying to hold off on that for a little bit, but I am reading some other books. I am still reading I Am Malala. I started reading this during Diversithon, and I am enjoying the book. No, enjoying is probably not the best word for this type of book. I think it's a very important book. It's very intriguing. I'm learning things that I had no idea. I mean, I know the basic story of what happened to her, and she does go into some detail of what she remembers of that day and what led up to it. She talks about her family. She also goes into the history of Afghanistan and Pakistan and the small little area that she grew up in, even as far back as them being under British rule and conflicts that they've had. And I enjoy history, and I love learning about other cultures. It's so depressing. So far, at least, I'm hoping the whole book is not depressing, because I would expect this book at least to end on a hopeful note just by listening to her speak. But so far, it's been kind of difficult getting into, because it's been depressing, and what's going on in the world right now, what's going on in this country right now, which I don't want to get political, but with the elections and things that have been said specifically about Muslims and registering them and deporting them, and it's been a hard thing for me to deal with, thinking about that, and then reading this book. I want to read this now, but it honestly is, it's depressing me. It is, because I feel like she has done so much good and brought so much light and positivity and acceptance towards Muslims and towards other cultures and other religions, and I feel like we're losing that. You know, she and others have helped us take several steps forward, and we're taking even more steps back, and that scares me. But I do think this is a very important book to read, and I am going to get through it this week. And then another book that I actually just started reading, and I went to the library. I had some time in between classes, and I ended up picking books up, because I always do, even when I don't have time to read. But I started reading Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I've heard really good things about this book. I decided to start reading it after I finished Unholy Magic yesterday, and I am really liking it. I did read Gone Girl. That was one of the few books that, like, when it came out, I kind of got sucked into, oh, you need to read this. I was like, okay, I'll read it. I was looking for something, a good thriller, mystery kind of book. And it didn't necessarily disappoint. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as some people did. I thought the writing was superb. Definitely a page turner. But the characters, I didn't like. The ending, I hated. Absolutely hated. But for the most part, I really enjoyed her writing. So I wanted to try something else of hers. And this was short. This is her debut novel. I think it's a very promising debut novel. Not written as well, probably, as Gone Girl. But I am still very intrigued. You know, I read half this book in one sitting, and I will likely finish this today. It's a quick read. But the characters are fascinating. I actually like the main character. She's very troubled. She's not somebody you look up to, but I empathize with her, and I kind of see where she's coming from. And she's had a hard life. She's a reporter that has gone back to her hometown where she left because of some horrible things that happened when she was a kid, and she is investigating the murder of 2 little girls. And, you know, you have all this family drama, and also trying to figure out, well, who is murdering these girls and who else is in danger. I have some ideas. Now, there were a lot of twists and turns in Gone Girl that I was not expecting. So I'm kind of hoping to be pleasantly surprised and not go in the direction that I think it might be going in. So we'll see, but I am definitely enjoying this book, and it's a quick read. And then I have a few books picked out for the rest of the week that I am hoping to at least start a couple of them once I get finished with these, or possibly when I'm reading them. When I'm not busy with doing other things, I tend to read more than one book at a time. It's just the way I am. The next book that I had hoped to read, I was actually planning on reading in October, and I did not read a lot in October, and I got caught up with school and other stuff. But this is still kind of fallish, and I like reading books like this right now. But this is Secondhand Spirits by Juliet Blackwell. It's supposed to be a little cozy mystery. It's supernatural. The main character is a witch. I think it's a murder mystery, but I'm not 100% sure. I tried reading another book similar to this in October, and I could not get into it. I really was not feeling that book. But I'm in the mood to read something like this. I want to get more into mysteries. I like the idea of a supernatural mystery with a witch or characters like that. So I'm going to be giving this a try. And this is a little over 300 pages. And those kind of books tend to read fast anyway. I was also hoping, because this feels like a fall type book. This time of year, I really like to read mysteries and thrillers and things like that. So I'm hoping to finally get to Mystic River by Dennis Lehane. Like I've said before, I love this movie. I've heard really good things about the book. So it's a little longer, but I'm hoping to get to that. Another book that I had picked up at the library, and it's The Man in High Castle by Philip K. Dick. I believe this is a TV show or a miniseries going on right now, which I've heard good things about. And I knew it was a book as well, and I was thinking about watching the show, but I was like, you know what, I kind of want to read the book first. That's just the way I tend to go. This is a science fiction, kind of an alternate reality of if we had lost World War II and America is occupied by Nazi Germany and Japan, kind of what could have happened. which I'm always intrigued by alternate histories. I love history anyway, and I really enjoy reading books about that time period. So I'm very, very interested to read this book. I have heard amazing things about it. I have a feeling it's not going to be a touchy-feely, happy ending kind of book from what I have heard. I've been trying to stay away from any kind of spoilers, but it sounds like this is going to be a very heart-wrenching, depressing book, which is one of the reasons I want to read Secondhand Spirits too, because that seems like it's going to be a fun, happier book. And I've picked a lot of kind of depressing books for right now. But I saw this and I've been wanting to read it, and so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to grab it. Alright, so those are the books that I have that I just finished, am reading, and hope to read this week. I have a lot more time. You know, I'll have family here, Thanksgiving, I have studying I need to do, but I still think that I can get a good amount of reading done, and I'm looking forward to it because I miss just sitting for hours and reading. I just don't do that anymore. So if you have read any of those books, please comment down below what you think of them, if you enjoyed them, if you think that they're good picks. The Man in High Castle, if you've also seen the TV show, I'd be interested in what you think about that, because I'm kind of hoping to watch that after I read this. If there's anything else that you think would be a good book to read this time of year, like I said, I like reading mysteries and thrillers. If you have something to recommend, I would love to hear that. Or just let me know what you plan on reading. I know there is a readathon this week, which I thought about doing, but I was like, no, I know what books I want to read, so I don't want to have to try to think about different books, and maybe I won't get through them because they're not what I really want to be reading. So if you're participating in that, or reading anything special, something you really enjoy, please comment down below and like this video if you like these kind of videos, and maybe I can kind of do this weekly at least through December. I was thinking of doing it because I'm going to have a large break, and I kind of thought of, because I know several other YouTubers that do these kind of videos and I love them, you know, just kind of what I've been reading, what I am reading, what I plan on reading the next week, and kind of thing, and just to kind of keep you updated a little better on what I've been reading, what I'm enjoying. So I am going to wrap this up. It's kind of long, and I will see you in my next video.